hope you guys are doing amazing. Today I have a very, very high movie amazing channel. How about you? I think a lot of you after me already know him from the amount of comments I made about him. But that's okay. I love him too. Today I have Earner FDFA on a book by do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I run the YouTube channel Special Books by Special Kids, where I interview people with all different types of disabilities, all age ranges. We include everybody. Yeah, and we just give them a platform to share their story, to share anything they want to share. And I've been doing that for 6 years now.
Wow. I've been doing my YouTube channel for 4 years. This coming summer, it'll be 4 years.
It flies by, doesn't it? I feel like I started just yesterday.
I do too. I'm already 4 years. So if you guys want to hear about his amazing story and have some fun with it, make this video, turn on subtitles, because I do have them for any of you who might need them or don't understand me. Comment down below whatever you want. I love reading your comments, or if you have any questions for me or we'd be happy to answer them. And subscribe if you're new, but I do awesome interviews with it and tell my life with cerebral palsy. So let's get started. My first question is, before we talk about how you created FDFA, can you tell why you were drawn to special education in the first place?
Yeah, it's funny. Getting into special education and becoming a teacher wasn't something I planned on doing. I really just fell into it. And let me start off by saying I come from a family of teachers and educators. A lot of my mom is a teacher. She's been a teacher in Philadelphia for decades. My aunts are teachers. My grandma was the first female nurse at her college class in Philadelphia. So I come from a background of people who like to take care of other people. So that was probably ingrained in me at an early age. And I wanted to coach soccer. That's what I wanted to do. And that's what I thought I was going to do. I became a college soccer coach. But part of the compensation package when I became a coach is they said they would pay for my master's degree in education. So yeah, it was quite random. I had my bachelor's degree in communications, and up until that point, I didn't think I would ever become a teacher. And I didn't even think while I was pursuing the program, the degree, that I would become a teacher, but I was doing it because it was free. So why not? And I got my master's degree in special education. To end the degree, you had to go and do student teaching, where you went into the classroom for 3 or 4 months and just got some practice doing it. And I just fell in love with it. I had so much fun working with the kids, helping them with their lessons, helping them learn. And I knew right away that is what I was supposed to be doing. So I changed my career path. I finished that 4 months of student teaching, and I found a teaching job and never looked back.
Yeah, it's amazing that you say that, because like I said earlier before we started recording, I kind of had a passion for disability advocacy and all that because I'm not mentally disabled. I was often put in with people who do have developmental and intellectual disability, and so I was kind of like a helper in a way. Like people would be like, "Oh, Anna, would you help so and so do this, or would you sit here and do this?" And I kind of fell in that helping people who were nonverbal and who were autistic. So they do have some pretty neat abilities.
Yeah, definitely. But let me ask you, what did you think about being paired with people who had intellectual disabilities, even though your disability was just physical? Were you happy about that? Is it something that you were kind of, well,
Yeah,
just tell me what that experience was like for you.
yeah. Well, so like I don't have any problem with people with intellectual disability. I love them. I think they're the most compassionate people on the planet. But what I do have a problem with is the way public schools automatically move you into one massive category because that like I don't even, and I could be wrong, I don't even think half of my high school knew that we even had an FFD room because we were, if you're looking at our school, we were way in the corner, like way behind everything else. And I think that was the problem because I would often go in there because my parents with or people who help you from people who don't know would need to miss something and then people would see me coming out of there or even in a cafeteria setting, I would want to go sit with my able body friends, but because I need help opening Tupperware and all that stuff and heating up my food and all the mobility stuff of eating, even though I can feed myself, they would put me at a table with everybody who had a disability. And I'm not even kidding you, or I were on that table and not in a good way. In a kind of disgusting way. So not that people, not people with disabilities or me, but the outside world didn't understand that. So oftentimes people would see me with them and automatically hot talking to me. Like they were ashamed to be around me at school, even if they were my best friends outside of school. They were
Wow.
ashamed to be a part of me in the building, which is not right. I'd be like, hi, and wave to them and all that, and nothing, walk right by me. So that's the problem I have with that. I I met people with all different types of disabilities, which is why I do what I do. But I do believe schools can't have to start combining everyone.
That is such a complex situation and story because there's so many layers there. So take the people who would look at you with everybody else who has a disability and then judge you.
Right.
They're judging you because they think that you have an intellectual disability, which is wrong. But the fact they're judging anybody with an intellectual disability is also wrong in the first place. So
Right.
their assumption is wrong, but even the conclusion they came to, if it was correct, would also be wrong. So that I think when we hear the word ableist in advocacy, that is a real world example of what ableism is. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I do because that is an example I tell in almost every one of my videos where I talk about my high school experience. That is an example I tell because that's one of the main reasons I hated high school because nothing was ever right in the SSG department or in the disability department or even in students. Even like they had art classes and cooking classes that were supposed to be inclusive. They were like you would be paired up with an able bodied person, but half of your peers would also be disabled. And because of that, I like they treat me like I had an intellectual disability, and I kind of believe that a point like my art teacher would literally take my art and redo it. And I finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, this is not intuitive, but want you to know that, not trying to be rude, not trying to be ungrateful for the program you do have, because some people don't have it at all. But I would like to go into a weather art path, like where a teacher adapts the weather curriculum. People thought I was insane. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not kidding. There's no humor here. And so finally I got into a random art class, and my teacher, who I'm like really good friends with today, like adapted the whole curriculum for me. And today I draw like a mad woman. I have 8 drawing books filled to the brim, working on my ninth drawing book because of him.
I'm glad that you finally got into a place that was right for you. But
Yeah,
as you were telling that story, I'm not sure if you could see my face cringing that you had to experience that. Like
yeah,
somebody putting their arm over yours and correcting your art.
right,
I mean, come on. Art in the first place should be
yeah,
whatever the person makes, but yet there's just so much wrong with that picture. You
right,
shouldn't have had to go through that.
right. I threw it all out when I took it home. I literally threw it all out in a paper cutter. I didn't want to look at it because it wasn't mine.
See, I think your story, I want to interview you for SPSK now that I hear your story in more depth, because special education services can be beneficial for a kid, but sometimes they can hurt a kid too.
Right.
And I think this is a situation where it might not have been the best placement for you.
No,
And
it wasn't.
I think people need to hear stories like that.
Yeah, and my parents say that my disability is very unique because I have a disability and I need everything that everyone else needs as far as mobility help and all that, but I need nothing mentally.
Yep. Yeah. All of your accommodations are physical accommodations.
Right.
Access accommodations.
Right. And yeah. So it's very California, at least my type, is a very interesting complex disability.
I'm glad that you've taken your experiences and used it to advocate so that other kids might not have to go through the same thing you go through.
Oh, thank you. I love doing it. And I met so many parents on my YouTube channel that are like, I have a child with cerebral palsy and I teach too, and I'm really worried about his future, and your channel is really helping me. So.
See, and that's all your experiences that allow you to understand some things in society that need to be fixed. So I think that maybe your experiences will turn out to make the world a better place in the end.
Right, I think so too. My next question is, what was it about traveling and interviewing people that forced you to do that instead of being taking a separate education path?
Yeah, this isn't something that I planned or something that I thought would happen. When we first started SPSK, it was just a classroom blog. I had the same group of 7 students for 3 years. So before we even started the blog, I taught the same 7 kids for 2 years, and then we started it. And it was just a fun little classroom blog at first, nothing too big, but that all changed when ABC World News saw one of our videos. They did a story on it, it went viral. And then I started receiving emails from people all over the world, really, asking if I could interview them the same way I interviewed my students. So it started just locally here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I would interview different people in my city. And then that started growing and we started receiving even more emails. So it went from my city to the state. to the country, to countries all over. So now I've been doing this full time for 6 years, and been to 10, 12 different countries, almost every single state.
Wow.
And it just kind of happened step by step. It wasn't one big thing. It was just one gradual step at a time. And the reason that I decided to go from teaching to doing it is because I saw that there was a need in society to have a platform so people could share these stories,
Right.
because there was nothing else like it, where people could just very openly share about their experience as disabled people, about things that weren't accommodating in society that everybody could improve upon. And I just saw it as an opportunity for the world to become more inclusive by listening to these stories. So that's why I'm still dedicated to it 6, 7 years into this.
Right. And I can't believe ABC News picked up a blog like that. I can't. And that just tells you how amazing social media and the internet is, because you never know who's gonna pick it up. I never would have imagined that I would have 732 followers on my YouTube channel right now, and I done international presentation about my brand. Because I met a friend of mine who is now a friend of mine who lives in the United Kingdom, who runs volunteer at an advocacy place now, and they asked me to do 2 presentations about my brand to their customer, and I never would have imagined that I would have the opportunity to talk to people about what I do in the United Kingdom.
It's incredible how much social media connects people all over the world.
Right, and I'm like, every time I read somebody comment on my YouTube channel telling me where they're from, I'm like, wow, I reached all the way over there.
It is mind blowing sometimes. Yeah, I experience the same thing, but a video can go anywhere in the world. So
I know, I'm like, how did it get all the way over there?
you never know who's going to be watching.
Yeah, maybe he knew. They're big.
Sometimes all it takes is one person to see your video and change the trajectory of your project.
Right. But that's really neat. Okay, what part of your work do you enjoy the most, and what part do you enjoy the least?
Yeah, I enjoy meeting people the most, actually being there and forming a bond and hearing their story. And there's something special about that. I just feel like I have so many friends all over the world. That is definitely my favorite part. My least favorite part is actually the travel. I'd rather just stay at home and be with my friends and family, but having to travel, it was fun at first. But after 6 years, that's just it's a necessary part of the job. That's the job. The travel is the job. Meeting people isn't work. That's a lot of fun. So
I have to agree with you on travel. I don't unless we're driving somewhere, I don't prefer to travel, because airport travel with a disability is awful. It is the worst thing a human could possibly go through, in my opinion.
I've heard horror stories from my friends who are wheelchair users about how tough it is to navigate the airport and travel with a wheelchair.
Right. And that's for me, because for me, in the airport I use a wheelchair because that's too much to walk. In my walker, but I have my walker attached to my wheelchair, obviously, and since I want to get up and think I have to use the waiting room, and it's a pain because they don't understand that I have two mobility devices here. And one of them is when they're like, can you get up and walk? I'm like, no, because my walker is metal. Like, no. And they're like, can you walk independently? I'm like, no. That's why I'm in my wheelchair right now. And they're like, and then when my mom, we can walk through, they won't let them do that. So like, they pat me down, and I'm like, oh man. I wish there was a better way for traveling to work with disability. Driving is fun, but you can't drive everywhere in the United States.
Yeah, I can see why the current systems they have in place can make it difficult for accessibility.
Yeah, and I understand why they need them. They need to adapt them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, after you are already done all these interviews, have you learned something about interacting with these individuals that you may not have learned while teaching?
Yeah, I think the main thing I've learned through filming so many interviews is that any human, whether they have a disability or not, really, they just want to be accepted. They want to be communicated with in a positive manner. Um, these methods of communication and connecting with a person, they're not just for people who are disabled, they're for everybody. Even me, when I meet someone, like, I want to be accepted. I want them to make me feel like they like me. Those are just very human traits. That's universal. So I think the main thing I learned is that everybody just wants to be accepted. Everybody feels insecure in one way or another. Everybody's fighting some type of battle. And if we can just validate one another, it helps people feel comfortable. And then they're more willing to share in a conversation.
Man. And I think that's very important because I hear another example I know. I don't know if you heard about that incident involving an autistic young man who was 21 and police. I think it was somewhere in Florida where they were called to a scene and they acted, well, not accidentally, they taped him 8 times because they didn't take the time to communicate with him or at least try. And so I think communication is really important. Trying to, one, you don't get frustrated with each other, and two, so their ideas are heard. Because other thing people did to me in high school all the time is invalidate my idea because they could not understand what I'm saying. And I use technology to type out everything. And when someone doesn't understand. And I would type my idea out and I would literally want my partner to meet what I'm saying on the Moodle doc. And I'm like, why? I'm like, okay, I typed that there because you didn't understand. I didn't type it there for the heck of it. I typed that there as a way of communicating and contributing to society. And I finally got to the point where I had to tell my teacher that people were doing this. And I don't, so communication is really important because if you happen, if you happen and you're not in the mid anywhere in the, accepting the person, accepting the error that you or the person made. because we do make error all the time.
Definitely. I think just listening to somebody that communicates acceptance,
Right,
just being willing to listen to somebody's ideas without invalidating them. It's a big thing. It's something not a lot of people experience these days.
right. Because a lot of people were like, I didn't do that. I'm like, yeah, yeah, you did. I'm like, yeah, don't stand here and be like, I didn't do that because I literally saw you do that. You know, I don't, I'm not one of the, or I never was one of the people who would like to tell on other people in high school. You know, and I don't like confrontation. I really don't. Um, so I'm very honest, and when people did that, I was like, "Come on, you know I'm not one of those people who go up to the teacher and tell on people from a half of it."
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Oh, that's okay. I about used to it by the time, and kind of why I make videos right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's why your work today is so important.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Is there a particular something positive that happened to someone you may make a hold on. Is there a particular something positive that happened to someone you may a voice to by interviewing them?
Yeah, it's incredible all the positive things that can come from a person sharing their story online. Sometimes it's something like fundraising for somebody's housing needs or medical expenses or transportation needs. But sometimes it's something as simple as somebody sharing their story and maybe a family or loved one who they see often hearing that story and then realizing there's ways that that person can be more accessible to the person who was interviewed, things they could do or things they could say or accommodations they could provide that perhaps they overlooked in the past. So one thing I've realized is that when a person shares their story on a big platform, it's not just everybody around the world watching, but many times it's their family and their friends who are watching. And then the family and friends learn things that they can use to help make that person's life better. So there's just so many layers about how sharing your story online can be beneficial. And I really try to honor them all when I'm editing a story and putting it up there.
I do. Same here with me. I do my best to. I literally do my best to edit each video and make it unique, and I try and subtitle and do all the things so that I can the video message out there. And yeah, I do agree. It really helps for like your family and friends to see it because my I want to say she's 87, not 4. My mama, who might be 87, maybe 86, never really understood my disability or why I was not doing how he was pushing her way. You have to go on this path and that. And I would always get mad at her because that was only a conversation we would have. He never understood what I went through on a daily basis, and I was missed down there. He missed in Texas, Dallas, Texas, and I was visiting her, and I decided to sit down and show her my platform. Mr. Heffernan, because you were asking what I did. And he was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" You know, after on the video that I showed her, he was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't understand your disability," and I'm like, "Oh, it's okay," and he loved it. Not like he really remember it now because he had dementia, but at least I heard her. And
It sounds like she was very proud of you.
yeah, I think he was. Unfortunately, he doesn't remember it now. Her memory dementia and everything like that. But that's okay. But it's amazing what a video can do for family members and people that you pay on your do your daily life with. Because another member that I have is my hope. Because I'm 20, I like to go out with young people. I don't like to have older people take me out to, young people events. And so I often I often ask my friends to take me places, and I met a lot of new friends. So I use my diary, my YouTube channel as a training diary for anyone who may be new to me or not know how to take care of me. I say, even though I tell them, I'm like, you might benefit from watching my previous video that talks about my mobility needs. And it really helped them kind of get a better idea of who I am and how I make them go out with him and proper way to help me do things.
I think that's just awesome that you create that resource. And I think eventually it'll be used by many people to learn about disability and not just your immediate circle, but there's plenty of people out there in the world who know somebody with a similar disability to yours, and they could use that as a resource also. And also people with that disability who
Right.
might be young and learning about what their life is going to be like can watch it.
Right, and that's already happening too. So that makes me very, very happy, and it makes when my numbers go down and all that, it makes it all worth it. I'm a keep going. I'm like, okay, number went down. I don't care. I'm gonna keep going.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Okay. What is the funniest thing that happened to you when doing an interview?
There are so many funny things that happen to me. It's hard to pick just one. I mean, if you go through and watch the interviews, there's so many funny moments. So I'm actually going to tell you a funny moment that happened when the camera wasn't on. And this is when SBSK first started growing. And it's a hard thing to like process that these videos you're putting out there are being seen by a lot of people because you don't see the people.
Right.
So you can't really like understand the impact that they're having. But one time I had just filmed an interview in Austin, Texas, and I was leaving the interview and I was driving and I get up to a red light and I look beside me and there's just a family in the car beside me. And the kid's just looking at a phone and I just look away because there are a bunch of strangers. I'm just driving, doing my thing. But then all of a sudden I hear the kid, he's knocking on his window to get my attention. And I look over and he's holding up his phone and he's watching one of our videos. And he's freaking out and he's laughing and he's pointing at me. And then the whole family's waving and they're all like pointing to the phone. So this little kid was literally watching a video that we created. And I pulled up beside him and then he started freaking out and his family was all waving. That was like, it was such a funny moment, but it was one of those moments where it's like, wow, like this is actually kind of happening. That's pretty cool and strange at the same time.
Right. That's amazing. I feel like that happened to me too, because I kind of remember the recognition of my high school because we yearbook committee was doing a pay because I graduated in a weird time, so we couldn't celebrate. So everyone, the yearbook committee was putting together a social media page where everyone was going to school. Everyone was going to school, you know, and stuff like that. And when they asked me, I told them and they put it on my Instagram, and then people started following on my store, and they're like, "Oh my god, I didn't know!" And then like, yeah, yeah, that's me. I'm older and older. Like, yeah, I'm a social media influencer, and people like started testing me, and I was like, there it is. It took them 4 years, but there it is.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it might have took forever, but they know who I am now.
Hey, sometimes you have to put in a lot of work before you get a big break.
Right. What is my what is your hope for here for FBSA? Are there things that you are planning but haven't done yet?
Yeah, there's always things that we want to grow and do, but I think at the base of everything is just to continue the type of interview we're doing now, and just to meet as many people as possible who want to share their stories and giving them the platform to do so. I just love the simplicity, the nature of what we do now, that I don't want to change too much about it, because I think there's just something about honest, open storytelling that can change the world. And I think there's, through the process of time and doing it for so long, there's a collection of stories that together communicate a message that individually the message might not come across or be hard to see, but when there's hundreds and eventually 1,000 stories from people all over the world, they kind of communicate something that can only be communicated with so many voices. So I really just want to keep on doing what we're doing and do it for as long as possible. And it really seems like we're going to be able to do it for a long, long time.
Yeah, same here. I don't plan to. I'm always, could I do it? Could I not? Like, could I add another element? And then I'm like, no, I'm gonna keep it the way it is, you know, and providing a video instead of trying to make something else. You know, I'm gonna keep going. And then I think that when you see your number go down, to say, am I doing the right thing? And then you remember why you're doing it, and then you just keep going.
Yeah, numbers go up, numbers go down. We have periods where everything's growing so much, then we have periods where it's not growing much at all.
Right.
And, you know, it's like a mountain. It up,
Yes.
it's down, but, you know, whatever. That's just part of the ride.
Right.
Don't read too much into that. Just do what
Right.
you believe is right. And in the end, you'll be where you're supposed to be.
Right. That's what I do. I just been my motto. I was supporting it. Yeah. And people are like, why would you want to do this when you're not getting paid? People ask me that all the time. And I'm like, because I love it and I'm able to, you know. I love it and I'm able to do it independently. That's why I do what I do. Because there's not much employment or anything that I could do independently.
It sounds like you're making a huge difference too.
Yeah, I really hope I am. I wouldn't know, but I really hope I am. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a huge thumbs up. Thank you for being here. If you don't already follow us, yeah, I don't know what you're doing with my they're amazing. So I'm going to put them down in the description. It'll be on top of all my things. Make sure you know follow him and meet some more amazing people. Subscribe to me if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.